Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, the SNP Government are attempting to push through massive changes to the justice system in Scotland. We've covered a lot of these in the past, most notably, of course, the eradication of trial by jury. After all, the people often arrive at decisions that are not the ones required by politicians. There is no independent judiciary, of course. The judiciary is the executive's means of providing the results they want in the courts. They own the judiciary. And so if they can eradicate juries, then they can get the decisions they want before the trial even begins. That's half the problem. And of course, on top of that, it is the government that decide what evidence is presented to juries in the first place. It's a very one-sided system. It's a very bad system already. But with these justice reforms that are being pushed through, a top KC has said not only is this bad system about to get far worse, it would in fact make Scotland one of the worst places to go on trial anywhere in the world. It would take an already corrupt system and turn it quite simply into kangaroo courts. Let's take a look at why it's so bad and why this particular KC feels he must stand up and shout out to the world about what is happening within the Scottish justice system. Here goes. So before we get into it, can I ask that, first of all, if you are yet to subscribe, please do so. And secondly, if you think you are subscribed, please check you're still subscribed. YouTube is still doing that little shady dropping people off every now and again against their will. So it's something worth checking. We get a lot of that happening. I think it's because we're a news channel. Anyway, we're looking. SNP Scotland could become one of the worst places to go to trial if justice reforms go through. The Scottish Government is considering ending the not proven verdict and changing jury sizes in Scotland. That's for those crimes they're still going to allow a jury for. There is a move afoot because we know when it comes to the loss of juries that every single judge, KC and solicitor in Scotland have said they're going to boycott it. So they can bring it in, but it just isn't going to happen. It just means there'll be a backlog because they say they're not going to represent any client unless they're representing a client to a jury. And they've done it to a man. There is not a single one that said they're going to go forward with this. So it's going to be an absolute fail from day one. But they're still going to attempt it because they're so arrogant. They think that they can get their own way on everything. Anyway, the government have been issued a stark warning about the presumption of innocence by top KC Tony Lenihan. There he is. The SNP Scotland could become the worst place for a person to go to trial in common law world if controversial justice reforms are passed through. MSPs heard evidence about axing the not proven verdict, as well as reducing the jury size from 15 to a lower number. Now, around the world, most juries are 12. 12 is seen to be the number, but Scotland's 15, and that's absolutely fine. You do it like that. The more the merrier, as it were. There were proposals in the Scottish Government's Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Scotland Bill, which was scrutinised by the Justice Committee. In their report, the cross-party group backed plans to get rid of the third verdict, the not proven verdict, but also rejected calls to lower the jury size or even change the number it takes for a guilty verdict. And this is problematic. If you're going to remove the not proven, then you need to increase the number of guilty votes for a conviction to stand. Otherwise, it'll be down to one person on a jury deciding whether someone's innocent or guilty, and that surely shouldn't be the case because then you're down to one person's prejudices. There were proposals in the Scottish Government's Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Bill, which we said. Currently, 8 of the 15 members need to agree that someone is guilty if a case goes to a jury trial, but this has the fallback of the not proven decision, which means that the case against the alleged cannot be proven and they're free to walk from court. It is a unique justice system, but this could be axed. However, lawyers have urged the government to U-turn on this due to the risk that it will have unforeseen circumstances. Now, imagine that. Imagine the SNP government bringing in a law change with unforeseen circumstances. It's not as though we haven't seen that before. Well, only every other time. This would be especially true if the jury majority is not reduced, as I said, because you're then down to a fact that guilt or innocence is decided by a single person who may be prejudiced. Tony Lenihan, KC, who is president of the Faculty of Advocates Criminal Bar Association, claimed that if this goes ahead, it will make Scotland one of the most unfair countries to stand trial in. In an article for Scottish Legal News, he claimed that the country will top the world rankings in something, but not football, sadly. He adds, we can look forward to a world in which our criminal justice system's contempt for the presumption of innocence far outstrips any other common law system on the globe. He points out that the simple majority of 8 to 7 jury system was hitherto tolerable because we had the unique protection of not proven safety valve. But MSPs want to remove this safeguard and not replace it to anything. In other words, it's still an 8-7 presumption, but this time you could go to jail for a very long time based on one biased opinion of one biased juror. An 8-4 majority was discussed, with Mr. Lenihan pointing out that this would have ranked us dead last in the world rankings. But perhaps our politicians worried that North Korea or maybe Vladimir Putin would see that the title remained within reach. 10-2 is the lowest anywhere else in the world. He claimed that the country was now being marched towards a regime in which 8 to 7 with no additional safeguards whatsoever will apply to every accused person, whether standing trial for the politically feverish sex crimes or indeed anything and everything else. It means that there is a safety margin of just 3.3% for juries, which is tenfold less than anywhere else in the common law world. Is this really to be allowed? Well, that's what they want. You understand that the SNP government that controls the judges, that tells the judges who is going to get what trial, is going to indicate to judges prior to a trial the name, the result they want, and so the judges have to guide the trial to that. They control what evidence is presented to juries. They control which witnesses are presented to juries. They control the appointment of senior KCs. And so, if you aren't the KC that they want, you won't be made a KC. If you're not the solicitor they want, you won't be made a KC. You won't take silk or anything. They'll see it. They'll only have appointees who they can control. And then the whole of the justice system in Scotland is under control of a Minister of State. There is no free and independent justice system. That's currently how it stands. And at the moment, the only thing saving people is the jury system, which for them is intolerable. How dare there be an aspect of justice that they have no control over? So firstly, if we can get rid of just juries, excellent. And if we can't get rid of juries, let's at least make it so easy to push a guilty verdict through that we can do that. That is where they are in Scotland at the moment. No free and fair trials. And I would argue that if these laws came through, that it could be seen that Scotland therefore doesn't have a free and fair justice system at all. It's kangaroo courts, and that anyone who commits a crime in Scotland and needs to be extradited back, then runs to England, needs to be extradited back for trial, could claim that they would not get a fair trial, and therefore there could be no extradition. That is how serious this is. Anyway, he said no decision has yet been made on scrapping the not proven verdict, he says, or on jury sizes, with the government set to consider the committee report. Justice Secretary Angela Constant said, I am pleased the committee has agreed on the general principles of the Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Scotland Bill, which they haven't. That's quite clearly a lie. They haven't agreed at all. They're arguing against all parts of it. He said, but it would put victims and witnesses at the heart of the justice system and ensure they're treated with compassion. Again, bullshit. They're trying to railroad these changes through so people can be pushed to prison at the whim of a Scottish Government minister. She says, I'm keen to build consensus on the Bill's proposals. Well, you haven't yet, since every man, woman and child in the justice system is against your reduction of juries. And then, she's just bullshitting it. I just can't even read the bollocks that she's talking. I welcome this. I like that. Full of absolute shit. She's absolutely an evil woman who wants to remove from Scotland justice. She wants to sit like some grand witch finder general going, burn him, burn her, send him to the gallows. Not because of the evidence, but because of how she perceives the person in the dock. And that's what it is. It's trial by personality. And that one hasn't got anything. If anyone needs to be tied to the stake, it's her. What she wants to do to Scottish justice is appalling. She is the biggest kangaroo of them all. I'm coming up. Now, I don't know what your view on not proven is. Some will say it's a good thing. Some will say it's a bad thing. Not for me to say. I don't live under that jurisdiction. Is the jury size of 15 too unwieldy, too big? Seems to have worked well enough. If they get rid of the not proven verdict, and if they shrink the jury to 12, then I think the only fair thing is an 11 minimum, 11 out of 12 jurors to find guilty. If they get rid of the not proven and keep 15, then I think 13 out of the 15 would be sufficient for a proven verdict. Anything less, and I think that's enough doubt, you cannot allow one person to have too much sway. That's the thing. You could have, at the moment, you could have 7 guilty, 7 innocent. It's all down to the last juror. And if it's a black man in the dock, and the person who's making that last decision could be racist, could have some kind of, antithesis towards, then it isn't a case of, oh, he's guilty because of the proof of evidence. He's guilty because I don't like black people. Or he's innocent because I don't like black people. Or whatever. You're swayed by a single decision by a single juror. That can't possibly be right. But that's how it goes, I suppose. It's up to more learned minds than mine. But if it does go through, and you are going to still have a single vote deciding guilt or innocence, but without the safety valve of not proven, then yeah, you don't want to be taken to court in Scotland. Very dodgy. Thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.